Why is unlicensed recruiting so unpopular? Because 92% fail. So I'm walking into it knowing that 9 out of every 10, 90 out of every 100 people I talk to is going to fail. Yeah. That's a soul-crushing, defeatist feeling. We're reaching numbers like 20%, not 8. 20% are showing up, getting activated, getting moving. That when you have the right recruiting, the right education, the right activation, the right leverage, believe it or not, Cody, in Real Momentum, we can show you how to do no-cost recruiting.
What is up? Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. Today, I got a special guest, man, who just happens to be a Miami Heat fan. He was also on our Agency Investors show. If you saw a recent clip, he was asking for $100 million, and then he just jumped out and attended our influencer retreat here in Springfield, Missouri, which we're going to talk a little bit about. And he helps agencies with unlicensed recruiting. Please welcome, I think the first time on the channel, Mr. Keith Fonseca.
Thank you very much for having me. Super grateful to be here. A lot of you know me as DJ Debt Free out in the world, so I figure I've got to show up as DJ Debt Free, right, Cody? And
that's right, man.
I've just got to say how grateful and thankful I am for this industry, for you, for leading and what you do for people in it, and that all three of those things you just mentioned, right, being on the channel for the first time is super exciting. But you know, you and I have had some interaction over the last year of coming to agency investors fresh off of like, hey, I'm going to go launch this new business. I have no idea what I'm doing. So why don't I just go out here and have some fun? All the way to almost a year later, coming to the influencers group and sitting amongst some of the most elite but humble people. You certainly do surround yourself, Cody, with the right people. That's why I'm excited to be here.
Appreciate that, man. I think that's such an important thing. I think we could jump out with too. It's like our audience is listening. It's like, man, we've always heard, you know, you are the 5 people you surround yourself with. Your network is your net worth. What have you seen over the years in relation to that?
Well, I mean, my story is, you know, sort of unconventional to most people in this industry. I don't have a degree in finance. I didn't, you know, find insurance very easily. Started with working in higher education. And I was always surrounded with people who felt like, you know, education. And it was a really, I'll call it pompous, arrogant type of environment where the more you knew, the more people respected you. Not what you did for people, just the more you knew. And my whole life turned, you know, 2 major turning points. Obviously, for those who don't know, in 2014, I decided to give up, you know, all alcohol, all drugs. So I am 10 years clean and sober. And my life, thank you very much. You know, there go I by the grace of God, at a day at a time. And so my life turned very dramatically from the people I was surrounding myself with, or mostly isolating myself, to, hey, I had to find a path. And then in 2016, my younger brother passed away at 41 in the middle of the day. And I had no idea that I was set on this path, you know, that my higher power, whatever you subscribe to, is bringing me to this place. So how does that answer your question? Well, once I got here, I discovered that I was worth what I decided I was worth. And in deciding what I was worth, the people I surrounded myself with became that conscious choice. You know what I mean? Like, most people are going to seek after, you know, the right mentor or the right person to be around, but they don't actually have this decision of like, I'm worth being around that person, you know, and I have it internally. And funny story, I know you're a big time basketball player. So just to take it there for a second, I was unemployed for 11 months, playing basketball 5 days a week at one of the most luxurious gyms in Orange County, California, right? My best friend became MVP of the Super Bowl, you know, and I was surrounded by all these folks that were playing ball every day from 7:30 to 10:30. 5 days a week. Now I'm unemployed. So of course I'm just going to work out and play ball. And one day this guy pulls me aside. He says, Keith, why do you keep applying for $15 an hour jobs? And I'm like, well, I have a degree in recreation and that's what I'm supposed to do. And he said, well, all of us are in sales. We're all in marketing. We all own our own companies. We think you're the best relationship person here. I think you're worth $500,000 a year. I just looked at him. I said, Russ, how do you know that? He said, because I'm worth $35 million and I've known you for the last year
Hmm.
and I would hire you in a heartbeat. And I was just like, what? Somebody else saw me for who I was before I saw me
Yeah.
for who I was. So getting around the right people helped me elevate my own mindset,
No
but
doubt.
elevating my own mindset helped me get around the right people. Chicken and
Yeah.
the egg, bro.
Dude, no doubt. And what was the retreat like? So for those that are like, okay, I haven't been to an event, or
Mhm.
I'm not an influencer, or I want to be, like, what was that like?
I knew very little about it coming into it because I'd reached out about this interview and, I was going to do it in Missouri. And then,
Mhm.
you were gracious enough with your team to say, hey, we want DJ debt free at this event. So,
Yeah.
your team put it in my ear, Keith, you got to be out here. We know you're an influencer in the industry. You're doing something that most people have not done before with unlicensed recruiting. And we want you to get around the right people. So I walk into the room, Cody. Now get this, right? After I start, a 5-year journey in insurance, I decide to start building software for the insurance industry. And I walk into the room, not knowing who's going to be there, just knowing like I'm coming on Askins faith. That's what I call it, Askins faith. And I walk into the room and there's Alex Brannon, one of my own personal heroes,
Yeah.
who I've seen millions of videos from. The guy, has built the SaaS, which is software as a system, has built the SaaS
Mm.
for insurance agents. And here I am working on my own SaaS, sitting in the room with like the biggest guy in the industry. And then I'm staring across at David Duford, who's one of the biggest guys in Final Expense, and Dana Neeson, and all these people in the room. And they're
Yeah.
just like spewing out transparently everything they do. Look, for the listening audience who hears Cody all the time, Cody, you shared your own story right at the beginning of some of your own trials and tribulations. And it was so refreshing for you to be vulnerable like that and to humanize the whole thing for me that like 10 minutes in, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in heaven.
Hmm.
And, I'd always operated in sort of my little IMO bubble. Let's call it that, right? A lot of people
Yep.
get into the space and they get into their IMOs and then they work in that bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And getting out of that bubble and coming to the influencer retreat really gave me a much wider, broader perspective on this industry. Like you and I joke about it. One of my favorite TV characters of all time is this guy Columbo, because everybody thought he was a big idiot and he was the smartest man in the room. And like, I kind of think of myself like Columbo sometimes. I don't know if that sounds conceited or arrogant, but I like to play the DJ, but I've got a genius level IQ. I've come up with some innovative things. I was a child prodigy. I studied all this stuff. And like, I've lived so many lives that once I got in that room around these humble, genuine, kind souls and realizing like this thing is about being about humanity because they humanize the whole thing. Everybody was just so willing to share, so willing to interact. I was there like 48 hours and I left with some new lifelong friends
That's awesome.
and some amazing ideas to go forward. Again, being with Alex Branning, who is the guy. And I know the two of you have partnered to do this amazing thing. So congratulations to the two of you. And the two of you sitting with me at lunch and like pouring into me and my business. So Keith, what about this? Or did you think of this? And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Amazing. Yes, I'm going home to build that right now.
That's awesome. And speaking of your business, you help agencies with unlicensed recruiting. I think it's a huge, like it's the biggest untapped market because, there's just more unlicensed people than licensed naturally. And you help in a very unique way. What led you to found what was Pipeline Light that is now Real Momentum, which specializes in unlicensed recruiting?
It really goes back to a mastermind group I was in with Jordan Mitchell and Mitchell McClure, great people, back in November of 21, right? I'd gotten into this mastermind group, and every week we're talking about how does one elevate oneself in the industry? And one day I just got so frustrated and upset that I blurted out, I would rather be bankrupt doing my own thing than bankrupt doing somebody else's thing.
Mm.
And that's where I was failing. I was doing somebody else's thing and waking up with my own ideas. So I said to myself, there's got to be a better way to connect with people on a larger scale to show them that this opportunity exists. And so I was introduced to a guy, this was when, all these CRMs and Go High Level was brand new or just coming out, and he knew Go High Level. I didn't know a thing. And we got together and we just built this very simple process of, we're going to get names and numbers and emails of people who apply over here. We're going to quickly bring them into our system. We're going to inform and incentivize them to come to a group meeting. And the basis of the whole thing was, can I talk to more people in less time than ever before? Now, anybody can perfect that. But what we ended up perfecting was giving the agency owner more time back into their schedule and spending time with what one would call, say, emotional vampires, who are going to challenge us and test us. Is this scam? Is this, is this that? And it's like, no, it's such an amazing opportunity. And so I tested it myself. I baited on myself for over a year. And in the fourth quarter of 2022, I put 80 unlicensed agents as writing agents into my agency in a 90-day period. 80.
Wow.
And so at the beginning of 23, people were just like, what are you doing? I want a piece of this. What are you doing? I want a piece of this. And so I very practically decided to focus on what we'll call conversion. Conversion is, right, you spend a lot of time setting up all these interviews. You got all these recruiters calling people one-on-one, so on and so forth. And a lot of that time gets wasted because people don't show. And I did that myself. In my first year in the industry, I did 12 hours a day of 30-minute one-on-one interviews. And at the end of the day, I'd be like throwing the phone, and I wasted all this time. I couldn't fill my day. And through conversion, I see just as many people, and now the folks in Pipeline Light, which is becoming real momentum. I can explain why. Those people are seeing the same amount of people that I was seeing in 60 hours in 4. So what could you do with the other, say, 30 something hours a week, sell, train, blah, 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 be with your family, whatever. So realistically, it was created for work-life balance, but to be innovative, to use technology. And now, why are we transforming into what's called real momentum, right? So I want to build this community in which, when my episode airs on the Agency Investors, I'm excited about it. So excited because I really pooped the bed on my presentation. Like, truth be told, I don't know if you remember this, Cody, like you said to me, I don't understand why we didn't just spend the last 30 minutes talking about Pipeline Light. And we talked about all this other stuff, and you've got this ingenious brainiac thing going on. And I was just like, I'm not ready to take an investment. I'm not ready to sell it because I am obsessed with getting it right for people. Yeah. Right. One thing I just cannot get with is that we have to work so hard to sell ourselves that we forget if the product makes sense, the service is second to none, and it delivers on its promises, I don't have to sell a thing.
Correct.
Come and get it.
It sells itself. Yeah.
There you go. So in transferring to real momentum, I wanted to build a system and a community, right, that gives people the kind of momentum in the industry that is for real, not the kind that I wake up going, man, I was so busy yesterday and I did all this stuff and man, I'm making movement. I went to 18 Zooms in a day and I talked to all these different people. And it's like, okay, what were your income producing activities? And like, what do you mean? Yeah. Everything was income producing. Okay. Did your bank account go up? No. So we turn the system into the 4 parts of what an agency builder needs: recruiting. So you recruit the people, education, right? And we've built in back channels to be able to track people's education, activation. So we give them a place to be activated within your business. And we've automated a lot of those processes. And then leverage, right? So building out how to leverage sales from day one so that that new agent doesn't fizzle out. See, I spent that whole agency investor talking about the 92%, not the 8%. right? For those wondering, when you see my episode, I came on, I'm like, Cody, I'm going to crush 8%. You're like, what? You're like insulted. And I'm like, because I want to help you build 11% or 12% nation
Yeah.
or 13%. Just think about that. Why is unlicensed recruiting so unpopular? Because 92% fail. So I'm walking into it knowing that 9 out of every 10, 90 out of every 100 people I talk to is going to fail.
Yeah.
That's a soul crushing defeatist feeling. But if we can convert, right? And it can. We're reaching numbers like 20%, not 8. 20% are showing up, getting activated, getting moving. That when you have the right recruiting, the right education, the right activation, the right leverage, believe it or not, Cody, in Real Momentum, we can show you how to do no-cost recruiting. I could teach every insurance agent, every agency builder that comes into Real Momentum how to do this at no cost to you. None. And I can do it faster and smarter, more effective with automation. We are the most robust AI system, AI built in the industry. We've built an AI mentor that will answer questions like, where do I get my license? What website do I go to? How do I get my fingerprints? So more time taken off the agency builder. Now, why did I say it's a community? Because I spend a lot of time talking about my own personal battles and challenges. I know you do, right? You shared.
Yeah.
I get text all the time. I'm inspired by you. I watch your videos. I get the same, right? 2 years ago, a woman texted me and said, I haven't been out of bed for about 3 months. I'm so depressed. But watching you walk every day at 5 a.m. and just talk to the camera and be honest got me out of bed. And now I've been walking for 30 days. And I almost dropped the phone. Like, who am I? You know what I mean? So in the Real Momentum community, if you want real momentum, these are your steps, according to us. It's recognize what you have to change, right? Emotionalize it. This is the part that people miss, right? Oh, I need to do this. I need to do this, but they don't get emotional about it. I believe in life, there's only 2 motivations, love and fear, right? They're both great motivators. So you got to emotionalize that change. Then you got to act right away. As soon as it's a thought, act. Right? We know Jordan Peterson, we know, all these different gurus, and then you have to love it. So REAL is a community we're building of insurance folks and sales folks alike who want to participate in the REAL of recognize, emotionalize, act, and love, and create real momentum in their life, and then also find that perfect place to work because we've got the agency builders and the best AI to match them perfectly.
I love that. So if they want to learn more about Real Momentum, what should they do or where should they go?
GetRealMo.com. It's that simple.
Get Real
GetRealMo.
Mo. I like that, dude. That's creative. That's cool.
Yeah. We want real Mo in our lives, so Get Real Mo.
Let's go.
GetRealMo.com.
I'm looking it up right now. I appreciate you being on the podcast. I love hanging with you. Enjoyed the influencer retreat, and welcome to the podcast and the channel.
I'm so sorry to your audience. I basically talked and Cody just kind of hung out. But if you know DJ Debt Free, that's exactly who I am, what I do. And I serve the people with gratitude, humility, joy, generosity, and passion always.
You always do. Appreciate you being on here. Thanks for doing that.
Love you, brother. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, DJ Debt Free, Keith Fonseca in the building. Appreciate you guys listening to the Power Player podcast. Go check out Real Momentum. Also, I wanted to add really quick too, if you've made it this far in the podcast, which you're supposed to do, my team said, you know what, reward those that keep listening. And so I'm going to give you a discount code to go to kaboomleads.com, use coupon code YouTube, and you can get 10% off your very first order. Hope to see you at kaboomleads.com. Thanks for hanging out with us on the podcast. Thanks for listening to Keith, and we'll see you on the next one. Adios. Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there. I'm so excited for today's CA Power Player podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. We got a special guest. He is back on the channel talking about how to sell life insurance from home. Here's what I love about this person. Okay, I'm telling you, this will be one of the best.